And today I want to talk about mindset, gratitude, and all that great stuff. When you're in a real shitty situation, as we all know, you and me included, life can happen. It can really, really happen. And then all of a sudden, you wake up in a situation that you're like, what happened here? How did this happen? That situation for me was when I ended up homeless in the streets of Amsterdam, and I wasn't alone. I was with my 16-year-old child. So one moment I'm living the up life. I'm having this really great apartment overlooking the sea. I have a great career, the fancy clothes, beautiful hairstyle, and all that stuff. And all of a sudden, I am homeless and I'm walking through some really freezing streets in Amsterdam with my child. And when that happens, as a parent, you feel so. There's no word for that. There is no word for that. I walked past a window at a certain point and I saw this family, watching TV, having snacks. Mama walks in, and then I looked beside me, and next to me, I saw my child. And the one thing I couldn't give him was a roof, some snacks, simple stuff. And I felt like a total loser. I really, how did this happen? At the same time, I heard my grandmother in the back of my head going, okay, Steph, great. You done a great job. So here you are, homeless with your kid, but you're going to wake up in the morning anyway. So what are you going to do about it? That moment gave me the strength to make a decision that this was not going to last very long. So what you need to do then, and that is really, really hard when you're walking down some freezing streets and you don't have a home to go back to, um, you start looking at it differently. You change perspective. So I decided to see it as a liberation, whatever. Anything that would give me the strength to do what I needed to do as a parent, as a mother. So I changed my perspective and I started to see it as a liberation. From there on, I got an offer for a crisis shelter, so at least I would be off the streets. Now, this crisis shelter, um, not like, a shelter for women and children, because my son was 16, so officially not a child anymore. He also wasn't 18, so he wasn't a man. So he couldn't get into a normal shelter, like a crisis shelter. Somehow, you change your perspective and somehow things start to happen. And so a friend of mine, she had this friend, a social worker from the Salvation Army in Amsterdam. And he hooked me up with a room for me and my child. So we were beyond ecstatic that we were going to get a bed and some stuff, uh, food and warmth, the basics of life. Yeah. And so we went to the shelter. And as we approached the shelter, let me just explain where this is. If you've ever been to Amsterdam and you've been to the red light district, that area, well, really close by, that's where the shelter is. So you approach a shelter with your child, with your 16-year young son, and what do you see in front of the shelter? There's, Junkieville, people who were mentally affected by some things, and they couldn't find, they couldn't be placed in a home where they belong. So they put them in crisis shelters. This is back in 2005, by the way. Um, budget cuts on mental health and stuff have been going on for quite some time. So there I stood in front of this scene, and I didn't know how to deal with that, and I looked at my son, and my son was like, "Wow, what the fudge?" So what we did was we just walked a few blocks, and eventually, after walking three, four, five, six, seven, etc. times around this shelter, you have to at a certain point make a decision, brace yourself, and get in there. So what did I do? I was walking towards the shelter with my head up high and a smile on my face. I'm still listening to my grandmother going, Steph, you can do this, you can do this. I put a smile on my face. I walked into the shelter, and of course, everybody was like, what is this woman doing here with her kid? Mind you, I was still wearing my heels and my beautiful outfit. My hair was still all cool. It's just that I was very homeless. I walked in and I went up to the reception, and then I told the man, "Hi, my name is Stephanie, and I booked a room for me and my son." The man looked at me and he said, "I think you're at the wrong place. I think you should be across the street. The hotel is over there." And then I said, "No, I am in the right place. I am homeless and I have a referral from so and so." The man didn't know what happened, and the people around me in the shelter were very like, "Who is that? They don't belong here." Now, first of all, this can happen to everybody. So if you are in a situation and homelessness is, looming around you, don't be ashamed of it, because really, I was there in 2005 and I know how big it sucks. It's for your ego, for your self-esteem, for everything. But don't give up hope. So what I did, we went to our room and we put our stuff there and we got settled in. And the first thing I did was say thank you. We have a bed, we have a shelter, we have food, you know? And so that's how I started my homeless career, which lasted very, very short. Why? Because I turned it all around. I changed my perspective. I was very, very grateful that I had a little place where I could be with my kid. And from there, miracles happen. And that is how in 2005 I was homeless. In 2006, I was out of there with a new baby. And in 2007, I lived in a penthouse close to the sea, had a new career, and everything was back to normal. Just want to let you know that whatever happens in your life, never go into, oh my God, yeah, the moment. Go for the moment. Just embrace the shit. Cry your tears and scream if you have to. But after that, remember this. Whatever happens, you're going to wake up anyway. So you might as well make the best of it. And then, make a decision, change your perspective, and be grateful, grateful, grateful. Because believe me, miracles happen when that happens. And from the minute that I entered the homeless shelter until the penthouse, a lot of little things happen, miraculous things. So, this is what I wanted to give to you today: mindset, perspective, gratitude, It gets you out of everything. And again, life happens to everybody. So this was me for today. Thinking back of that time is painful, but it's also beautiful because it's one of the most beautiful lessons that I've had in my life. Plus the gratitude that I got from the people in the shelter. Oh, wow. Amazing. You know, I want to tell you one little thing about this because I can talk about this for hours because again there's like a lot of stuff happened in between and I will eventually get to that. But what I do want to tell you about is this. We at a certain point we organized Monopoly games in the shelter, and playing Monopoly with some really heavy junkies is a whole different thing. Okay, first of all, they take their Monopoly money to the bathroom just because they're afraid that it might be stolen. So there was this one guy, homeless guy called Fred. Fred, I don't know if you're still alive or if you're still out there, but what you gave me one day um, is the biggest compliment that I've ever had in my life. And I just, if you're out there and if you do see it, thank you, man. So what happened? There was breakfast served every morning, and Fred sat in the back. And all of a sudden, I hear my name, Steph, Steph. So I look around me, and I'm like, okay. And Fred is sitting in the back. He's, come on, come on. So I'm like, okay. I walk up to the back. I sit down next to him, and this guy was a full-on junkie. And what he wanted to do, out of gratitude for like just being there for him and playing Monopoly and listening to him and giving him some love, some unconditional, solid love, triggered him to. Uh, he wanted to give me his dope, his drugs, his his shot for the day. And I don't use that stuff, you know. And so I said, no, Fred, this is really touching. Thank you very much, but you really need it more than I do, so please keep it. We almost got into an argument because he really, really, really wanted to give me his dope. And when a junkie who really needs that stuff wants to give you his dope, it means you've really touched him. So in all the darkness of all that crap back in Amsterdam in 2005, I was able to shine my light. And with that, wow, that alone turned the whole horrible homeless period into a memory worth remembering. Sending you smiles across the digital miles. And remember this, as long as there is a heartbeat and as long as you can breathe, there is always hope. So never give up, change your perspective, be grateful for it all,